I apologize that I don't have a camera ready, but
that's fine.
One I had didn't work.
That's fine. It'll be on the podcast anyways. People don't seem like they enjoy looking at me and Brandon too much.
we enjoy looking at me either.
We got faces made for radio, so
yeah.
Maybe you could put up pictures of models for all three of us.
Hey, there we go.
We could do that.
Or you could go on the internet and get a picture of the other Joel West, the one that was a Calvin Klein underwear model.
I didn't know there was one.
I used to tell women, there's a very famous Calvin Klein underwear model named Joel West, and he's even been an actor. And a woman once asked me, she said, "Are you famous?" And I said, "Sure, look me up on the internet. All you got to do is Google Joel West." And she did. And she said, "That can't be you." And I said, "Yes, that's me." I said, "That was before the accident."
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
And so I use that. I use that all the time. And then when they really look at me, I say, "It was a very bad accident." So, yeah, he's a Calvin Klein underwear model. So,
we'll have to scope him out. We'll have to see what that was.
Do a little Photoshop work on that.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
We're doing all right. Tired, but doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm just tired like you. I think I'm getting a day off, and I get just an hour and a half off. So.
Yeah, that's how I was supposed to be off work early today, and ended up staying a little bit past what I normally do. It's one of those things, I guess, though.
Yeah, everybody serves somebody. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners, we do have Joel West here with us this evening. You may know him from Chasing Ghosts Beyond the Arcade documentary that you watch on Hulu.
Yeah. We'll link to the movie on Hulu.
He also holds many records on some of the classics. He's also one of the original people from the 1983 Ottumwa, Iowa photo shoot from Time Magazine. And we're glad to have you with us, Joe.
Yeah, man.
Well,
definitely.
I appreciate very much you guys asking me. I enjoy the fact that when we met in Atlanta and we've kicked off a good friendship there, and I enjoy talking about gaming.
We do too. We enjoy talking about gaming with people that actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen for us very, very often.
I only fall into that category by accident, believe me.
Well, for our listeners and stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself, Joel.
Well, you want to hear from the beginning, or right now, or what?
Whatever you want to tell us. We are fine with hearing whatever you got for us.
Okay, it was a dark and stormy night, and my mother went to the hospital. No. Actually, how I got into video gaming was quite accidental. That's the best way I can, present it. One day, I lived in Shelby, North Carolina. That's where I was raised, and I was looking for a parking spot. And there was this fairly new renovated building that I parked in front of to go to this insurance office there. But it had a parking meter. And I needed some change, and the cops in our town was notorious for parking tickets. And so I tried to find somebody that had change. Well, they were all offices, and they didn't have cash. And they told me, go around back. There's a place around there you can get change. And I went around back and went into this place, and it was dark. And I walked in and heard all these sounds and noises. And then I went through these doors, and it was dark in there. And then all of a sudden I saw these neon-type lights. And that was my absolute first ever experience with a video game arcade.
Huh.
Nice.
And And I mean, there were probably a good 40 games in there, and pool tables and such. And I walked over to this one game, and these two insurance agents in ties were playing it, and I watched them, and it just kind of drew me by the way it was drawn out and its colors, and lo and behold, it was Berserk.
Huh.
Nice.
And I watched them play, and in about a week and a half of going there every day, I finally got their score, and it took a few months, but I got well beyond them, and I played Rally X and Battle Zone and all this sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and one day someone said there's a high score place that takes care of all the high scores around. I said, well, good. And I thought I had some high scores. I wanted to see how I stacked up, because nobody could take me in that arcade where I was at. And so I sent my scores in, and about 2.5 weeks later, I got a letter back from Twin Galaxies Arcade in Ottumwa, Iowa. And you think Ottumwa was hard to say, you ought to try spelling it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I had a couple misspellings on my piece of paper here, actually.
Exactly. But anyway, they sent me a letter back, which I still have and will not give to anyone. My grandson will get it when I die, I guess. But the letter says, congratulations, Joel. You are the very first person in the country to have they were calling them then national records, national record on 2 games at one time. And that was Berzerk and Rally X. And I wound up being the first person to have a record on not only 2, but 3. The first one to have 3 games at one time, 4 at one time, and 5 at one time. And
That's awesome.
that was, to me, I appreciated that. And then, of course, the famous Life magazine photo, they sent out invitations to people with high scores who were on the scoreboard. And we had an unlisted phone number, so they couldn't find me. And they had my address, but they didn't try to search that out. They tried to search it out by phone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But our local paper in Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte Observer, it's a big, it was a big local paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It carried the high scores of video games because video games were so popular. The top 20 video game scores, and top 20 score, the top score of the top 20 video games. Let me say it right. And I happen to have a couple of records on there, and they kept doing their darndest to try to find me. And one day, someone knocked on my door, and he just happened to be a friend who was a police officer. He came to the door in his uniform, and I remember this is exactly the way my mother told me what happened. She said, there was a policeman knocked on the door, and I walked to the door, and he said, is Joel here? And she said, oh, no, what's he done now? And hadn't done anything, and they were just trying to get in contact with me. And then I called them, and they told me about the Life magazine photo, and I debated whether I wanted to go, but I said, okay, I'll go. Best decision I've ever made. And I drove out there. I'd never been anywhere at all. And I left North Carolina about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just as it was getting dark. And this was in November. Mm-hmm. And drove over that big bridge in Cincinnati. I about had a heart attack because I'd never been over a bridge like that before. And then started snowing. Hadn't ever driven in snow, even though I hadn't had my license about 4 or 5 years, and it hadn't been snowing that much. I drove through snow in Indiana, went to Chicago. Stern gave me a tour of the factory, and then from there went to Iowa and had a blast and got in that photo. And it was a great decision. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds of stories, and you're going to have to tell me to be quiet when you need to. But
that's fine.
Hey, we're here to interview you.
Yeah, man.
Well, I have a funny story about my entrance into Ottumwa.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
When I left Chicago from Stern, I got lost, and I was lost for hours. And this was before internet and GPS and that sort of thing. And I stopped.
Where you're literally lost.
Exactly. Lost means lost. And I was at the gas. I stopped at a gas station because I knew I needed some gas and some brake fluid, and they pumped your gas there then. Okay? Like they do in Pennsylvania now. It was kind of a law. Okay. And I asked the guy to check my brakes. He said, "You low on brake fluid?" He said, "But I ain't got any brake fluid, but I can put some water in there and do about the same thing." I said, "No, don't you put water in." I wasn't that stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to, I don't know, do something to me, I guess. I drove again and got lost some more in Chicago, but finally I got out of there. And as I was coming into Ottumwa, my brakes were gone. They were totally gone. I had a leak in the cylinder, okay? And in the line, excuse me, not the cylinder. And I come into this little SO gas station in Ottumwa, Iowa. And I had a sponsor who was going to pay me once I got there for the trip if I wore their T-shirts. And I didn't have like $8 on me. And so I traded the guy at the gas station to work on my car. I traded him a car jack, a basketball, a gas can, and $8 to fix my brakes. Now, he gave me all of it back when I came back with the $38 or whatever it was I needed. It was cheap back then to fix it, and he gave it all back to me except the $8. But he held it in I guess like a pawnbroker would,
Yeah.
And when I got to Ottumwa, when I got to the arcade there in Ottumwa, it was a very hectic place, and Walter Day took me around and introduced me to a few people, and then he went around this corner and he introduced me to Mark Robachek. Mark, he said, and this is what he said. He said, "Mark Robachek is the slow bullets Berserk champion." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, there's another version of Berserk." He said, "You're playing another version, the fast bullets version. He plays the slow bullets version." I said, "Really?" He said, "I want to see you two play and see what happens." I'd never played the game, didn't know what it did, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I started playing, and Mark was better at it, of course. And the world record was like 98,000. He got like 93, but I got 88, so that wasn't bad for not knowing how to play the game.
Right.
Definitely not.
But Mark kind of got a little smug after the whole thing on camera. I didn't really appreciate that. And so when the event was over, this is on a Saturday when this happened. When the event was over on Sunday night and everyone was heading back to their plane or car on Monday morning, I stayed over in Ottumwa for one more day. And before that day was over with, I had the world record on slow bullets.
Nice.
I beat his score by 22,000 points.
Oh, wow.
That's
Completely
a blowout.
eclipsed it, man. That's excellent.
So that is some of my Ottumwa stories. I had never been experienced to that area is full of meditators. Okay, transcendental meditators. The people who the Beatles, eventually became transcendental meditators.
Yeah.
Some stars are like Jim Carrey and so on and so forth. Anyway, Walter came downstairs after my game with Mark, and I was flustered because of the, that's the first time I'd ever been beaten, but it wasn't on fast bullets, it was on slow bullet. And Walter said, I was upstairs meditating, and as I left my body, I could see this game down here. I looked through the ceiling, and I could see you two playing and struggling, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, what have I gotten myself into? But it was a good experience, and I enjoyed it, and I'm just so blessed to have been there for that weekend. So, go ahead and ask me about anything else.
It was a pretty fateful event. You know, that's definitely one of those once-in-a-lifetime deals.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If I had not gone that weekend there, I know of no other opportunity that would have presented itself.
I had seen in the Chasing Ghosts documentary that you mapped out all 64,000 rooms in Berserk. I was wanting to know how you went about that. Like, did you figure out the mathematics behind it, or you just went one room at a time and plotted out?
I got 3 composition books, and back then there were ring binders, and you tear them out, and they're all messy. You know how that is.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the maze. And the only thing that was constant about the maze was the walls on the end, on the top and the bottom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 5 spaces across and 3 spaces down. And that was before I knew about mathematical formulas of probability and all that sort of thing that somebody introduced to me later, that I could have done it very easily with a formula. But I sat down and over a period of a couple of months, started drawing the rooms out, making sure I wasn't repeating. You couldn't lock in a corner, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rooms were very similar, except for one thing or another. And then when you boil all those 64,000 down to the absolutely different rooms, it's around 832. But that's still a lot of rooms.
Yeah, that's some impressive dedication to do all that.
Well, most video gamers that are let me say it a different way. Most video gamers who are very successful have a bit of obsessive compulsive inside of them.
Yeah.
They have to. Competitor and obsessive compulsive. You know, they have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think, I know a lot of people that everybody gives us crap pretty much for being almost 30 and still loving video games. And
Almost 30.
Yeah, a lot of people just, I don't think though, a lot of people just don't really take into consideration how competitive gaming actually is when you get down to it.
Yeah, one nuance here or there is totally different. But, I laugh at you being 30. I am probably, I'm very well maybe the oldest competitive gamer. Not gamer. But I may very well be the oldest competitive gamer going right now. There are a couple people who are older than me, feel younger, then a couple of more, and then there's definitely some more in pinball. But pinball are different people altogether. Okay, I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Pinball people are totally different people than video games.
Yeah,
I agree. I know a bunch of people that play pinball that they won't touch a video game. Just it's two opposite end of the spectrum for them.
That's right. But I was the first video gamer to also hold a pinball record, and I still hold that record today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you remember the movie Rocky III?
I do.
You remember when his brother-in-law Paulie was drunk and he walked in the arcade and he threw the liquor bottle at the Rocky pinball machine?
Yes.
When I saw that movie, and I've always been a Rocky fan, I set out to get that world record, and I still hold it today.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
And not about 5 months ago, Walter Day and I were at a show up in Philadelphia, a card show. Not a video game event, but a trading card show.
Mm-hmm.
And I got Walter in the car. I said, we're going somewhere. He said, okay. It was after it was over. And I drove him all around Philadelphia because he didn't know it, but I was lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew eventually where I was going. And we went to the very house that Rocky jumped over the steps when he started his run, and then we went up to the steps and both went to the top of the steps.
I actually seen the picture you had posted on Facebook of the
to be there.
Being there.
Walter Day was such an awesome thing for me because even though he's a very great friend now, and we talk about every day, sometimes a couple times a day, I still cannot get over the iconishness. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it, of how he appears, how he is, you know. I respect him in that respect, immensely.
Walter, what little we talked and met him in Atlanta, he seemed like he was a really, really awesome individual.
Yeah.
He's there for the gamers, you know, that's one of the main things. Like, you know, you see in all the documentaries he does and stuff, he's not in it for money or fame or any of that at all. He's in it because he cares about the people who enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
You're exactly right. I could tell you stories about him that he would have someone get a hold of me and break my arm if I did. But I can tell you stories about him, how he is so immensely sacrificial, and has been for years at his own detriment, to do things for people.
Yeah.
Now, there's plenty of people who try to take advantage of him. But,
I'm sure there are.
let me rephrase that. There are not plenty. There are a few that try to take advantage of him. But most people respect him. But most all that trading card stuff, until Mr. Eric Tesler came along, was totally out of his pocket. And people would send him a message, do a card for me, and he would look at the situation and do it, and a box of cards was around $50, and he never asked them for a penny, and most people would never volunteer a penny.
Huh.
But yet they wanted him to mail that box of cards to him after he did it, which was another postage fee. So.
Oh yeah, it's easily $10 to ship something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's a very self-sacrificial man. And, you know, people have kind of the wrong idea of Billy Mitchell because of the movie King of Kong.
Yeah, we were wanting to talk about that some way. We didn't want to talk just a ton about Billy because we know how, you know, everybody's.
Yeah,
that's the one they're curious about. But,
Oh, it's fine.
But just like Walter, you know, though, like when we met Billy, he was awesome. And that's been the single most question that everybody we've talked to coming back from Atlanta's asked us. They're like, oh my God, is Billy Mitchell really the big a-hole that they pursue? And I'm like, no, not at all, man. I was like, he was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, he was awesome to talk to.
You know, I mean, when he's not going to the animal shelter buying kittens to take them out back and shoot them behind his house, he's really a pretty nice guy. You know? He does have that one thing he likes to do, but you know, let's not tell everybody. It's just between you and us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a family man. He's got a total of 3 kids. One's in college, one's in high school, and
he said something about one of his. He asked us where we were from. He said one of his daughters. I think it was his daughter. Somebody went to University of Alabama.
Yeah, that's where his daughter's at right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Youngest daughter, and she's tall like him, and good-looking kids, smart kids, and you know, so forth. And he got this reputation because, first of all, it's not a mullet because it's the same length all the way around.
Right.
He got this reputation because of his hair. Then he got the reputation because he basically humiliated our friend, and he's friends with Steve Sanders. He humiliated Steve Sanders at the Life magazine thing the night after. That photo was taken on Sunday morning. On Sunday night, they played at that arcade in Ottumwa, and Steve had posted a high score of 3.1 million.
That's right. He was one of the first people to lie about his score, wasn't he?
That's right. He lied about his score,
and
then Billy basically humiliated him. Billy got 700 something thousand, 800,000 on his first man. Steve got 200 and something for the whole game.
Yeah.
And basically, we decided right then who the King of Kong was, or he did, not we, but he did. And but he's a very nice guy. He goes with the fact that people think he's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
When you're 6'5" and you have unusual hair and you walk around in a tuxedo, you kind of do draw attention to yourself.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I had a question about him. He when he's doing these events, I know he has this kind of, I'd compare it to a pro wrestler type persona. This very extravagant. Does he ever, when you're around him, does he ever just, I don't know, break down and get real with you?
Well, how do I say it? He's as real as he gets right there. That's
okay.
him. I know what the look is. I've only seen him out of his suit maybe 3 times in all the years I've ever seen him.
Huh.
I mean, he didn't really start to suit until about 1999, but since then about 3 times. 2 times he was in shorts, and it just blew me away because he wasn't in a suit. And one time I can't discuss because I'm still trying to erase that from my mind. So, but now I'll have nightmares. But as far as video game stories, I mean, Billy is the one person that I know of all the other people out there that can really back up what he says. He hadn't had the time to practice, and he went to Kong Off 4 up in Pittsburgh a month or so ago.
Yeah, we covered a little bit of that on our podcast.
His kill screen he got a kill screen at 930,000.
Wow.
That's the first game he had played in over 7 months. I gave him a really good pep talk and told him that he could do it. And, sometimes when you haven't played in a while and you're itching to play, you've got a good game right there.
Yeah.
That desire is what does it.
Yeah.
And he brought it forth, and, he was excited. So, what else do you want to know? I can tell you anything and everything, and probably too much.
I know one thing I was wanting to ask, definitely, we talked about Chasing Ghosts Beyond the Arcade. Mm-hmm. How did all that come about? And, we understand that it is a movie. And I was kind of curious, just, did they leave out anything?
Yeah, did they misportray anything?
Did they misportray stuff?
Well, I think they did, and all the people who were in it, I think that also. It was an unscripted movie, mm-hmm. but there's such a thing as scripting a movie by editing.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
The King of Kong is, that movie, that right there.
Every documentary you see on Discovery Channel now.
The power of editing takes control over all.
Exactly, and I remember when we were in my living room, and they were asking me about the guy who did the patterns on Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
I was not in a good mood about it because we knew about the patterns back when I was playing, and then 13 years later he uses it to basically do our score 5 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we looked at it as a cheating because what you do is you go in 8 or 10 or 12 rooms, and you go out a certain way, and you just make a circle. You go out the left, the top, the right, the bottom, that sort of thing. Yeah. You just keep doing that. So after you get past the first 10 or 12 rooms, all you're playing is 4 rooms. That's it.
Yeah.
And they had told me that they went down to Florida, and they filmed him doing that, and they said after he lost his first man, where he was playing the 4 rooms all the time.
Yeah.
They said he didn't last but about 6,000 points. And I said, that tells you right there that he can't really play the game.
Yeah,
he doesn't have that full understanding of it.
Exactly. And so I'm sitting in the room. We're talking about editing here, so I can stay on task. But and then I said, you can teach a monkey how to play a certain number of rooms, but you cannot teach a man. And then I said, with a 4-room pattern, how to play Berserk.
And they cut that out where you just said.
With a 4-room pattern. They cut that out.
Huh.
And so, yeah, they cut it out. And that was the only thing they did on me, except there was this old man who, when we were in the car, on the car scene, there was this old man who sells flags by the side of the road. Mm-hmm. He's got every kind of flag. He's got countries and states and organizations, but he had a Confederate flag there. This was in 2005 before I started. And they wanted to stop and film me standing beside the Confederate flag. And I said, absolutely not. I said, I know what you're trying to do. I said, this area, everybody gets along, we're peaceable, and you're not kind of stereotype us.
Yeah.
And the director did not like that at all. And, but, you know, what can I say? But I knew that he would have that bent and he would try to go for it. And so I didn't let him. But other people didn't quite have that knowledge. Mm-hmm. Steve Sanders repeated something that was said to him one time by Billy Mitchell, and they told him they wouldn't tape it. They just want to know what he said, but they kept the camera running and the mic on. And
where is it? Where he F-bombs?
Yeah. And he was, you know, he's a Sunday school teacher now.
Yeah.
And he's also an attorney. And I said, Steve, why didn't you know that they were going to lie to you? And they tried to make Bingo look ridiculous. And remember when they were filming Billy Mitchell through his bathroom door, they were playing that song. What was it? You know, about, you know, when he was combing his hair, trying to make him look stupid. And,
yeah.
And so they tried to make us, but they were looking for an angle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the real story was a whole lot more interesting than what they were trying to portray. They could have just sat us down and talked to us like this, and got a wealth of information. But
yeah.
They had the camera on me within, I would say 2 minutes to 3 minutes from the time they walked in my front door.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Not even giving you any breathing room whatsoever.
No, as a matter of fact, they had it on before we even had sat down, and ranged the chairs and everything. But, I got a little justification out of that movie, and the fact that, I did get that Berserk machine running, and it's the one that I set the world record on slow bullets in Florida last year. So I was happy about that.
Very nice.
I had a question regarding the editing aspect. Roy Shield, aka Mr. Awesome, is he really the jackass that they portrayed him to be?
Probably a little bit more.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I've never had but one interaction with him, and that was when he was standing beside me. I offered him a ride back to his hotel in Iowa when we were at the Big Bang event in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
He was walking, and the hotel was a good mile and a half away. And I offered him a ride, and he didn't want it, but he did threaten Billy Mitchell.
Huh.
He threatened his life.
Really?
So I've heard this or read this a couple more instances, because apparently old Roy Shield, he's kind of like a loose cannon individual.
Yeah, I kind of got that.
Yeah, he is, but unfortunately, you know, he was a steroid using bodybuilder back in the day, and the steroids have unfortunately taken their toll on him physically.
me and Brandon actually seen a video while we were doing research for everything. We seen a video of him doing some sort of bodybuilding thing from like a few months ago, and he looked rough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bad.
He's probably about the same size as Walter Day, and Walter's not unhealthy.
Yeah.
Walter's just little.
Yeah.
Okay. And probably he wouldn't appreciate that word little. Walter is and I don't want to use petite, that's girly. So Walter's not the biggest man in the world. How's that?
He's got a small frame.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. And but Roy used to be bigger than you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of the old pictures where he was hulked up pretty
Yeah,
big.
when we were watching some of those YouTube videos he was on, when I saw the documentary, I kind of disliked him, and then after watching some of the stuff he's put out recently, I kind of just felt bad for him, like, seemed just mentally unstable. Like,
well, there was something he said in the Chasing Ghost movie that's always haunted me. Anybody who tries to get attention like that, whether it's a video gamer, Charlie Sheen, or whomever, there's always a reason they do it, but I think that I've never heard it put so succinctly as Roy Shilt did it in Chasing Ghost. They asked him, they said, why do you play video games? And he said, because it makes me special.
yeah.
That's it right there, because we all have a need to be special.
Oh, yeah.
And he saw that as his only avenue of being special.
Huh.
So I feel sorry for him for that.
Yeah. After
rough.
I seen past the editing and the story narrative of Chasing Ghosts, that's what I got out of it. I just kind of felt bad for the guy.
Yeah, exactly. So who else? Who else we're going to talk about?
I was wondering, in the documentary depicts your relationship with Ron Bailey and how he started out kind of like a mentor, and then you ended up rivals at a certain point. Is that rivalry still there today at all, or?
No, he no longer plays video games, and he's approaching 80 years old. But actually, I was his mentor, not he mine. He saw me in the arcade, and I taught him how to play Berserk.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Very nice.
So he kind of came across the other way in the documentary.
yeah, I guess it did. But I taught him how to play because I already had a score of a little over 30,000 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught him to play, and so there was nobody that was close to me at all, anywhere. And I was kind of bored, and I stopped playing for a good 9 months. And one day he, after he had learned to play, I taught him how to play, and I just kind of left it. One day he contacted me and said that he was getting close to my score, and 2 days later he overtook it. And so that started the rivalry. And we were good friends through the rivalry. But he actually, I don't believe in jinxes, but if there could be one, I'm about to do it. No one has ever beaten me in a game of fast bullets, ever. They may have taken my score when I wasn't playing them, but if I played them,
head on,
they never have beaten me. And so he was always frustrated about that. But he did set, as far as I'm concerned, he played the greatest game of fast bullets anyone's ever played to this point.
Nice.
Just remember I said that.
To this point.
Yeah.
Right. And Walter Day was a witness to that game, and Walter Day even documents the play in his first book, Video Game World Records and Pinball.
Oh, I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, I've got it right here, and it's a great book to have. A lot of people purchased the book because of, looking for their name in it.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4/5 of the book, and it's a thick book, are scores from that era. But the last 200 pages are the story of probably the first 15 years or so, I would say 10, 15 years of video gaming since, it started in 81, 82. And it's a tremendous story. I mean, I was there and I teared up at the end. That's how good that read is.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm very Walter's a very good writer. He wrote that story. And he's a very good writer.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out. I didn't know he had written a book.
Oh yeah. And I think there's a volume 2, but I don't have it, but it would be more of the more modern era games, I would assume. But he's a very good writer. So.
Nice. I wanted to ask you, like, back in the early 80s, I guess you say the classic game area.
Golden Age.
The golden age, yeah.
Right.
Players like you were celebrated. Really good players were celebrated. Today, they're looked down upon. They're nerds. They're geeks. They're no-lifers. Why do you think that is now?
Haters gonna hate. I don't know. I mean, it's been said to me so many times, you're how old and you still play video games? There's this one woman who was a neighbor, and I never will forget it. One of her relatives or kids looked me up and said, he's famous. He plays video games. And she looked at me the next time she saw me and she said, they looked you up on that internet and they showed me you and you play video games? And I said, yes, I do. And this is what I tell people when they make that statement and they've got any intelligence at all. I didn't talk to her, but this is what I tell people. And it's mostly a wife of a married man I'm telling this to. And this is, anybody can use this they want because it's true and it's common sense and it works. You take a man that has a hobby and he's not sitting there in front of the TV like a couch potato all the time. I mean, if he is, you know where he's at, but you don't usually want him where he's at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want him doing something. Okay, if he gets up and starts doing something, he'll either, work out in the shop in the garage, and he'll buy tools and have this, nice collection of tools, which is fine, and then all that's very much needed.
Yeah.
But he'll invest himself in his garage, or he could be a bowler, and he's gone a lot, and sometimes that involves gambling or drinking and things that women don't, want, and rightly so. And that he could be a golfer. Now, that's an expensive hobby.
Yes, it is.
Big time.
That is a big, big time expensive hobby. So if he doesn't gamble or golf, and he doesn't drink, to excess, what other hobby can he do that if he's doing it, he's at home? He can do it with his kids. He can do it with his wife. He can do it with his family. And it's really not that expensive.
Right.
It's video gaming.
Yeah, just the other night I'd hooked up the old Sega Genesis and was playing that with my stepson, one of his friends. And, they're used to all these newer games. They started playing NBA Jam on the Genesis. And they said that's their favorite game now. Like, these old games are just so fun for them.
Exactly. I'm not a fan of 95% of the newer games because of all the violence that are in the games. I know Berserk is basically a first-person shooter, but Call of Duty and Berserk are quite different. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're not running around killing other human beings or nothing like that. You're killing robots.
Exactly. No, I don't believe that you should, have a game where humanoids are killing humanoids. Now, there was an old game called Boot Hill with a gunfight, but, it was so hokey, but yet fun that it wasn't going to, inspire someone to go out and do this in real life. There's plenty of argument for and against that kind of video game, but it's not going to affect everybody, but the small percentage of people that it would affect is apparently not worth it because of all the damage they can do. But that's my opinion. I'm going to be prejudiced because I'm a classic gamer, but
well, another difference is these old games, they look like video games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
This new stuff looks like simulations.
Video games like a form of escapism. You want to play a video game for the sake of playing a video game. You don't want to play a video game to do mundane stuff that you do in everyday life,
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's my take on, on the games. But I don't know where I started with this, but what's your next question?
I know, the panel we seen you and Billy do at a Southern Fried Game Room Expo.
I'd love to get a copy of that, by the way. I've been trying to get a copy, but I can't get anybody to get back with me.
I've got about a minute and a half filmed of it before my phone crapped out on me.
Oh, man.
Sitting there. I was trying to film it and my phone died. I'd forgot the night before to charge it like a idiot, but you were talking about you love the stories from the road and traveling, with these other guys like Billy and Walter. Like, what's one of your favorite on the road stories that you could tell us?
Well, I've got many of those too. I'm full of stories. I'm full of a lot of things, but I'm definitely full of stories too. One of my favorite ones happened right there in Atlanta where we were together the night before that panel. We walked in. Now, you remember Billy is in his white suit.
Yeah.
His white tux, his American flag tie, and his red vest. Walter's in his striped referee shirt. Okay? I'm just in regular clothes. Nothing to it, right?
Yeah.
We walk into a Waffle House in Atlanta. We were the only white people there. And it was crowded. There was one booth almost in the back. And we went over there and we sat down. And the waitress said, when we walked in, she said, "I just don't know who you are, but you somebody famous." And she didn't really point at me or Billy or Walter, but we knew she was talking about Billy, okay?
Yeah.
Because he was 6'5" in his white suit, and every eye in the place was on him, okay? And I could not let this opportunity go. And she come back over to the table and she said it again. "I know you're somebody famous, but I can't place who." And I took the opportunity to say, "Let me tell you who he is." I said, "The circus is in town. This is the master of ceremonies, and this gentleman right here in the stripes, that's the zookeeper." Or no, the zebra keeper. The zebra keeper. That's what I said, the zebra keeper. And she said, "Really, the circus?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Why don't you come up to the circus tomorrow when you get off work? We'll get you in." And eventually I gave her a card before it was that, so she knew who we were. But I let that go, and everybody was coming over. "You're with the circus? You're with the circus?" And every time we go to a town now, and they're dressed up like that, I do that same line.
Nice.
So, that's one of the stories on the road, but I'll tell you one more if we got time.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. All right. We went, and in 2.5 weeks we're going back there. But we went to Banning, California, in January of this year. Now, Banning, California is where the big pinball museum is, and also they've got several hundred video games, but they have probably twice as many pinballs. And they renovated a big factory out there, and I mean, they've got like, I don't know, it's close to 20 acres. Okay, it's a big place.
Dang.
They got picnic grounds, they got cooking place, they can be self-sufficient there with you don't have to go anywhere. They've got everything except hotel rooms. Okay?
Huh.
Wow.
And so, we went out there and, to the banning event, and we had a wonderful time. And Sunday morning, I had to take one of our fellows to the airport in Los Angeles. Well, Banning is in the middle of the desert. Have you ever heard of Palm Springs, California?
Yeah.
Well, it's about 26 miles west of Palm Springs. That's the nearest thing to it.
Oh,
and
man.
It's a small town, maybe 10, 12,000, but there's nothing else until you get close to L.A. And I had to take him to the airport for like a 6 a.m. flight. So I got up and drove him all the way to L.A. I didn't know it was 107 miles.
Ooh.
It was 107 miles to L.A. So I made him drive while I slept because he's the one going on the plane. He can sleep on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got there, let him out. Then I went over to the beach and I watched the sunrise. And I had me a good time just sitting there watching sunrise at a beach in L.A., you know.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite place to go. But anyway, not because I know stuff around there, just because of all the television shows I've watched from L.A., you know.
Yeah.
And I used to watch, now this tells you how old I am, but I used to watch shows like Dragnet and Adam 12 and all this sort of thing. So I know about the streets in the area and all that. And Rockford Files and so forth, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So I go back to the hotel after letting him out of the plane and seeing the sunrise. And I go into the room, and I'm rooming with Walter. And Walter's meditating. You don't disturb Walter while he's meditating. So I left the room, and I went to get some ice. And I turned the corner, and there's a man at the ice machine. And when he raises up, it is none other than Chuck Norris.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, it was 8:05 in the morning. It was Chuck Norris.
Oh, my God.
And I said...
The earth just exploded.
Yeah, exactly. And I look and I say, well, Mr. Norris, it's an honor to meet you. I mean, it just came out, you know. I was looking for something more intelligent to say, like, you know, I'm glad I didn't say, you want to fight?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having this interview now. But he was extremely nice. He got his wife to take a couple of pictures of us. And, but he gave me a charge. He said, now listen, we're at this hotel and we're going somewhere. But please, I mean, I invited him to the event, but he couldn't come to that. He said, please don't tell anyone I'm here till after I'm gone. I said, fair enough. And I kept my word to Chuck Norris. I did not tell anyone about it until I was back over at the event at Banning. And so I'm out to meet Chuck Norris, but I'm getting to a better part of the story. We went through the day, and then the event was over, and I had to take Billy Mitchell and his son to the airport in L.A. Because, see, when I go to these events, I'm usually the gopher. I'm the one that runs the table. Sometimes I get to play, but it's rare. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was taking Billy Mitchell and his son to the airport, and I was tired. I had been up early. It was a rough, tiring day. I mean, I just don't stand there behind that table and look pretty. I have to work.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm driving Billy to the airport, and we're moving because we realize that, you know, it's going to be tight. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you get into L.A., the traffic lanes go from 3 to 4 to 6.
Yeah.
In one direction. And I was in the far left lane. I always wanted to drive in that HOV lane, you know, just because, you know, never could before, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the high passenger vehicle lane, high occupancy vehicle, and the car's quiet. Billy's son is beside me in the front seat, and he's laying asleep. Billy Mitchell himself is in the back seat laying there asleep, and I'm dozing off, okay? Because I can't roll the window down or turn any music on. I'd wake him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm dozing, and I'm weaving, and I'm fighting, and I'm pinching my leg and trying to keep myself awake, and I'm struggling. And then all of a sudden, the rear view mirror lights up just brighter than Billy Mitchell's red, white, and blue tie. Red, white, blue, lights all over the place. And then I hear the siren. Oh, boy. I look down at the speedometer, and I'm going 84 miles an hour.
Mm.
And he stays behind me and makes me go from the 6th lane all the way over to the emergency lane and then pull off at an exit. It was Vermont Street, okay, which the Chips people run out of in that all the time. The movie, the TV show Chips,
Yeah.
that was one of their favorite exits to exit off of. So I pull off, and
it wasn't Punch that pulled you over, was it?
It wasn't. No, I was kind of hoping it would be, but no. But I was hoping that actually Bonnie would pull me over. Take me to jail now. She pulled me. He pulled me over, and I knew that I'm going to jail. You know why? I'm going 84 miles an hour in a 65 zone. I'm weaving. I have no seatbelt on. I'm going to jail, okay? I know this. I'm a paralegal by trade, and I know I'm going to jail. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think, well, first of all, how was Billy going to get to the airport, and how long I'm going to hear that from Billy for the rest of my life. I went to the airport, but you went to jail, you know. So he comes up to the window on Billy's son's side, and he says, hi there, how you doing? I said, fine. He said, the reason I pulled you over was because you were weaving. And I'm thinking, okay, he didn't mention speed. He didn't mention seatbelt. Okay, good. He said, where were you? Where are you coming from? Because he knew it was a rental car already.
Yeah.
He pulled us over, and he had to call the license in. And then I saw this is my opportunity to try real hard here. Okay. I said, well, officer, we were out at that new museum of pinball and video games that you have in Banning. It's one of the largest museums in the world for video games and pinball, and it's a wonderful experience. I came all the way across the country to be here. Oh, really? They have a pinball and video game museum? Yes, they do. And I said, and he looked about the right age. I said, you remember such games as Pac-Man and Centipede and Donkey Kong Jr.? And he was shaking his head, yes. And I said, do you remember Donkey Kong too, right? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, well, the guy who had the world record on them at the end of 1982 is sitting in my back seat. And I turned toward Billy. He shines his light in Billy's face. Billy's got this smile already on, and he's looking at him and smiling, and Billy takes the conversation from there. And they start talking about video games. And he recognizes Billy, okay? He recognizes Billy and said, I'm going to have to Google you when I get back to my patrol car. And so they got to talking, and then finally I told him, I said, well, I'm just trying to get him to the plane. I'm sorry, all this stuff. It's been a long day. I'm tired. He said, well, I guess you're awake now. He said, you can still get your flight if you get out of here. I'm not going to give you a ticket, but just be careful. And he said, have a good day. He went back to his patrol car. We saw him on the computer in there, and the only way for me to get back on the interstate was to make a U-turn. So I just naturally made a U-turn right there, went through a stop sign as I was making it, and turned and ran a little toll booth at the same time. And Billy is screaming at me, you just run a stop sign, made a U-turn, and run a toll booth in front of a cop. I said, he's not watching me. He's Googling you on the internet. So that's the kind of experiences that we have out on the road, and it's hilarious. So we made the plane, and all was well, and I avoided a ticket. I have this strange ability to get out of tickets.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's a good ability to have.
Well, when we got pulled over for that event, since December of 2007, I keep track of these things, I had gotten out of 18 tickets in a row.
Wow.
Man.
That was number 19.
Huh.
And, of course, since then, I'm talking with gotten out of them in a row without being convicted of anything. Okay? Now it's 23.
Dang.
I don't know how I do it.
That's amazing.
I talk to the officer. I talk to if I have to go to court, I talk to the judge. I'll talk to the DA. I don't know. I would have rather have been handsome and be rich, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So,
I just landed my first one not too long ago, so I don't have that ability.
how fast?
I was doing 72 in a 55. I was running late at the time I was taking college courses at night, and I was working about 2 hours away from where we live now toward Mississippi, and I was running late one evening trying to get home to go to class, and a state trooper popped me about 10 miles from where I needed to be.
Have you got out of it? Have you had to go to court yet?
Oh, yeah, I've done paid the ticket and everything. I just went ahead and paid it online.
Hey, I've always had the most luck just being as honest and open as I can with them.
They're
like, you know how fast you were going? Yes, sir, I was speeding. And I get out of it more often than not when that happens. But
if you get another ticket, don't pay it. At this point, you need to either ask an attorney to help you to reduce it, because if you get another ticket, they'll really hit your insurance. You'll pop it.
Yeah.
So I think it's 3 years usually that they monitor something like that.
Yeah, it's 3.
So just be careful of that. But that was an amazing and fun ticket I got out of. But there was one more that I got out of too when I was taking some courses at a college about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was going down the new 4-lane road that led right to the college, and it's 65 speed limit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was going a little crazy one day, and I was running late just like you were, and except I was doing 88 miles an hour, and I passed this unmarked highway patrolman.
Mm.
He pulled me over. I knew again I was going to jail. Okay. We might do an interview one day from jail for me. And
we can do that.
I pulled over, and he ran up to the car, and he was fussing at me. He said, "If I wasn't late for court right now, I'd take you to jail." He said, "You better slow down." And he ran back to his car, and I said, "Thank you, Jesus."
No kidding.
That was a very close call. Very close call. So, what else you want? I'll give you anything you need.
Okay.
If you got too much, I understand that.
Well, one thing I just don't know, everybody knows some of your favorites, the Berserk, Pole Position 2, Battle Zone, stuff like that. What's some of your other favorite games outside of the?
Well, I got about 7 games I play for seriousness, and anything else I play is just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Berserk Fast Bullets, Berserk Slow Bullets, and Frenzy are serious. So is Rally X, Battle Zone, which Battle Zone was. I don't play it anymore because it hurts my back to bend over and look
into the periscope.
But Pole Position 2 and Pole Position itself are the ones I play serious. I'm sitting right now, if I have my camera working, you could see that I have all those games here except a Battle Zone. And I don't have a Battle Zone because, like I say, it's just too painful to bend over into that periscope. But anyway, those are the ones I play for seriousness, and I love playing a game called Chicken Shift.
Oh, yeah. We interviewed one of the guys who had a hand in that, Mike Kennedy.
Yeah, I love playing that game. Now, that's just for fun. I really just love playing it because of the name.
Yeah.
But it is a cute, funny game, and I enjoy mostly any racing game that I don't have to compete on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like playing Turbo. I was once fifth in the world on Turbo. I never could get a record out of that game, but I was once fifth in Turbo, and it's I play it, but I try to make sure that I don't let myself get too serious about it because I don't need another game. And
Right.
Yeah.
But I never have been into the consoles. The console Berserk. One day I'll get a record on maybe the ColecoVision Frenzy and the Berserk version that is what is it called with a V? Vectrix.
Vectrix, yeah.
Yeah. I think I want to get those records just for the fun of it, but I really don't play anything else. It's not that I'm prejudiced against them. It's just I don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're already invested in those games. It takes a lot to it takes a lot of time to invest in a game, especially to learn it in and out, and all that.
Yeah, and if I'm going to really play it a lot, I do want to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, haphazardly. That's why I don't ever play in these, 10-game tournaments where you play a little bit of this and play a little bit of that and play a little bit of the other.
Yeah.
I don't play in those because that's not what I'm known for. Now, there are people who are great players of such games like that. Donald Hayes, Steve Wagner. Those are amazing people who can do things like that. But that's not for me. That's more like the decathlon in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And, Bruce Jenner won the decathlon, and I'm afraid that if I got good at all those games, I wouldn't want to turn into Bruce Jenner.
No.
So,
Definitely not.
See how my mind works?
Yeah.
I understand that completely, though.
That brings me to a question.
Slippery slope.
Retro gaming's making a big comeback. Is there any new retro style games that you've seen or played that have kind of piqued your interest, maybe in a new record or anything like that?
There's one game that does interest me, and that's Geometry Wars.
Oh, I love Geometry Wars.
Yeah, I don't know why. To me, it's kind of an asteroids type of Berserk to me. I don't know why, but I like that game. That's just a cool game, I think.
Oh, I haven't played that one yet. I'll check that out.
Geometry Wars is excellent. You'll like it.
Oh, yeah. There is one other game that I really enjoy. I have one of the main records that it has. It's called Prop Cycle.
I think I've seen. Isn't this the arcade cabinet where you actually ride a bicycle?
Exactly. Exactly.
Nice.
You got a huge 50-something inch screen in front of you. You have a fan blowing on you, and you're riding a bicycle. Because what you're doing on the screen is you're riding a bicycle-powered hang glider, and you're popping balloons.
Huh.
And that is a great game. I had an old boss that one time mentioned that was a game that he liked. I looked it up because I'd never heard of it, and I wanted to impress him because he was telling me how great he was, and I really didn't want to impress him, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, I had one of the segments of it, the first segment, I had the world record on it within like 4 weeks.
Nice.
And then I showed him that online. He didn't really appreciate that, but I had a good time out of it.
Hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's right. The only way that I can play it's on MAME. I have tried to trace down a prop cycle, but every lead for an actual arcade game prop cycle, I've just run into brick walls.
I seen one in Florida a couple years ago, and the only reason I even remotely know what it is, I wanted to play it, and one of the pedals was broke on it, and I didn't get to.
Yeah. I've tried to find them, and I just don't know where they're at. One day one will come up, and somebody will want a huge amount of money for it, but then they'll be able to keep it too, because I won't have a huge amount of money.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about L.A. is one of your favorite places to go. Where's some of your other favorite places that you went, like doing the circuit or convention circuit and all that?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I did one trip a year up until 2013. Just one trip a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2013 came, and I went to the Kong Off 3 in Denver. Starting then, since then, when this coming weekend is over and I go to New York, okay, I will have traveled 50,600 miles in gaming since the Kong Off 3.
Wow.
I drive most of the places because I run the store for the trading card project, and so I have to carry product. But if it's beyond the middle of the country, if it's beyond San Antonio, Kansas City, Minneapolis, that type of thing, I have to fly. There's just no, two choices of that. But I've been to 33 states in, 22 months. And now that sounds glamorous. Let me tell you, it's not. There have been many nights when I would leave an event and I needed to get back home to get to work, and I had no choice but to drive 12 hours or 11 hours or something like that, and I would have to sleep in a rest area. Okay? Yeah. That's not glamorous.
No.
Especially when you're in a small car. Okay? So, I've only flown maybe 5 or 6 times in the 2 years. And the rest of it is just all driving. I enjoy going to Cincinnati to Kerry Cheney's arcade, the place, Retro Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
He is a person who loves and appreciates games, and he takes care of his games, and he always tries to add and go forth with different games as things come along. He changes his lineup, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The organization in Houston that run the Pinball Expo that's going to happen down there in November.
I don't know if I'm going to get to, but I'm wanting to. It happens the day after my birthday, and I told my wife I would really like to try to go out there for the weekend.
Well, come on down. I'll be there.
Nice.
Okay, Friday and Saturday is when that event is, not Sunday. Friday and Saturday. Okay, and I'll be there with Walter Day. Billy won't be there for that one, but Walter and myself will be there. And they put on, I'll be honest with you, Atlanta did what I called in 2014, they did the best first year event.
Mm-hmm.
But Houston did that was their first year doing it. I mean, that was great. Houston just etched them out as doing the best overall event. Okay?
Nice.
And I've been to Ohio probably a dozen times. New Jersey, Richie Knuckles Arcade, which is fantastic. He cares for his games. He knows how to work on them. John Salter started an arcade in the Cleveland, Ohio area. But the sad thing is that be honest with you, I don't know of many good arcades in the South, and that really bothers me.
Yeah,
we don't have any in Alabama. The one that we do have, it's we're in Coleman, which is like dead center North Alabama.
Yeah.
And in Huntsville, they have is it Game Galaxy?
Game Galaxy.
Game Galaxy, and they're going out of business right now. They're selling everything off.
Oh no!
No, that's literally, and it was a really cool setup. They have about 40 to 50 arcade units, like 20 pinball machines. They got all the classics covered, but they had it where you can pay $10 for the day, and they had everything set to free play.
Yeah, that's how most arcades do it now.
I know they're selling their stuff off as we speak.
Yeah, they're moving back up to Tennessee.
They're moving up to Tennessee, yeah.
Well, the reason that I think the Southern Fried Gaming Show is so successful in Atlanta is because, like I say, there's not any arcades around here.
Right.
But in Chicago area, there are at least 3 good arcades.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lyle and I actually starting a small. We were trying to start a small convention ourselves, Good Old Game Fest. We were starting really small at first, but because there's nothing like that here in Alabama, so we would like to get something similar to the Southern Fried Game.
Yeah, start off small,
here in
go
Alabama.
big. We're September 26th in our hometown. We're doing a called Good Old Game Fest. We're gonna have a few arcades, some consoles, a few tournaments, prizes hooked up. We're like Brandon said, we're starting small because Alabama doesn't have like a classic gaming convention at all, and figure somebody ought to start one.
Yeah, North Carolina had a kind of a Comic-Con type thing a year and a half ago over in Goldsboro on the other side of Raleigh, but there's nothing that I know of. I know of no arcade anywhere, period, in North Carolina. I think there's one. There may be one out on the Outer Banks near Kitty Hawk, but, that's 8.5 hours away.
Oh, yeah. That's a little bit out of pocket to go do some random gaming at.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, it's sad that Chuck E. Cheese is about the only place I can go get an arcade fix at.
Yeah.
I know. There are some collectors, though, around the country that are doing nothing but hoarding games. I know probably of 4 to 5 right now that the people have 200 to 2,000 games.
Wow.
Why they're hoarding them, I do not know. There was one guy who found 80-something games in his uncle's farm in Kansas that he inherited.
Huh.
Yeah. They had been played in 30-something years, but they were there.
That's something.
Yeah.
We actually talked about the hoarding thing a little bit earlier. Like I collect a lot for the old console systems because that was my first exposure to video game, of course. And there's certain games I want now. I'm a collector, I guess, but I play the games I buy. They don't just sit on the shelf generally. But a lot of the games I want now that are $200 and $300 games, some of the game stores we hang around, there's people that are in there that have 4 and 5 copies of said game, bragging about it, and I'm just kind of like, well, man, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you're the reason I've got to pay $200 or $300 to get this one game,
Exactly.
It aggravates me to no end.
And righteously so. So, but I love video gaming, and there are, like you said, some things happening. It's like classics are rebounding, and of course they're not making the machines anymore.
Yeah.
But and consoles are coming with it. I expect, from the things that I know and some things I can't talk about, but I expect, from what I know, that over the next year to year and a half, that there'll be many more festivals and gaming events and weekend events, and they're now even starting to include some of us in Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I went with Walter and Billy to the Kansas City Comic-Con 4 or 5 weeks ago, something like that, and that was quite an interesting event. You know, we had no publicity getting there, except the Thursday before it started on Friday. That's not publicity, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah.
And still, we had a real good crowd. And there's some things that are going to happen that we may be at more Comic-Cons.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get in shape right now, physically, to do a 100-hour no-sleep gaming marathon of Frenzy.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been pointing to Brandon on my piece of paper. That was the next thing I was going to ask you, is about your attempt to do the longevity record.
Right. There are many things that go into choosing a place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not 100%. Well, yes, it is. It's 100% because he said I could have whatever I wanted. Jace Hall has offered me to let me do it at his studios in Hollywood, California. And I think of all the places in the country, and with the excellent staff they have there, that would be the best place for me to do it. Mm-hmm. It would get a successful attempt, great exposure.
Yeah.
And because, see, I think that classic gaming deserves to be heralded and brought back. And if I could do something that would gain it some exposure, mm-hmm. to gain it some notoriety, I'm all for that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, that's all we do, really.
I mean, the longest I've ever gone is 52 hours, but I'm trying, like I say, I'm trying to physically get in shape right now. And because it's not the game so much that will do me in, it would be my body.
Yeah.
Okay? I am 55 years old. Okay? And I'm actually, if you really look at it, I'm closer to 56 than I am 55. By the time I do it, I will almost be 56. And as far as the game of Frenzy, it has a glitch in it. It'll let you win an extra man every 3,000 points. Mm-hmm. But it has a glitch that there's only so much RAM available on that chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if for some reason you get to the fourth row of men, which is going to be around number 98, when the extra man buzzer goes off, the bullets or your man will freeze.
Oh.
Not the robots, but your bullets and your man. Now, I've learned it's a very hard process, but I've learned how to negotiate it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, I've learned it, I'm an expert, but I have negotiated through it. The most men anyone's ever gotten was like 120 something until I got 147 not long ago.
Huh.
But, Frenzy also, if you get, what I did was I learned how to get through it, and I played to where if you get 253 men on some games, it starts over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not 253, but 257. I got 257. In the game, you lose all your men, but the game doesn't start over. You keep the score. So, if I did it at Jace Hall's place in Hollywood, I want a second Frenzy machine there, because if a 30-something-year-old machine breaks down, I don't want that the reason to stop if my body's still willing to go.
Yeah.
I would do the second quarter record.
Second machine.
Yeah. In other words, continue playing. I will have played 100x hours, but I will have done it on 2 quarter drops instead of 1. Right now, the longest record is 85 hours and 16 minutes on a classic video game. And my friend John Salter has that, but I aggravate him about it all the time because he took about 8 sleep breaks during that 85 hours, and he slept for 30 minutes to an hour each time, because his game Armor Attack will allow him to build up 1,000 plus men.
Yeah. And so it gives you the time to sacrifice the men and continue to be able to continue going.
Yeah, because Frenzy will only let you, build up the number of men I said, but you can lose a man every 7 seconds.
Oh, that'll take long.
When you walk away from the game and just let it play out, you lose a man every 7 seconds. Well, that means that in less than 11 minutes, you're going to lose all your men. So if you have the max number that I've ever gotten.
So is that how you handle bathroom breaks? You just gather up enough extra lives that you can walk away for a second?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. When I got my record back in 2011, it was a 42-hour and 11-minute game, something like that, or 42-hour and 21-minute game. I didn't go to the bathroom until 41:08.
Wow.
And what I do before I do a marathon is I fast. I do a water-only fast, and I try to start the marathon on the 8th day of the fast. Now, you might say, in fast, well, I've done it so many times I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do a water-only fast, you're not hungry after day 5, period.
Huh.
You're just not hungry. You can smell the most delicious steak, and you don't want it. I mean, your brain smells it, but you're not hungry.
Yeah.
And so I do a water-only fast, and I get myself in that situation. And your stomach is usually empty by day 8 or 9, totally.
Yeah.
So I've learned how to facilitate that and drink some tepid water around day 6 and 7, so it makes sure it is. And so I am clean as a whistle when I start my game, and I just keep myself minimally hydrated so that I don't die.
Yeah.
So I'm not hungry, and I'm hydrated, and I'm not going to die, and I can focus. And so the bathroom breaks come at a minimum. And I have experimented with, how do I say this? Things that will help me with that.
Yeah.
Bottles?
Bottles, exactly.
Reservoirs.
Reservoirs, yeah. Portable reservoirs, yes. So,
how do you go into, I mean, I'm sure the fasting and everything goes with it, but how do you mentally go in to prepare yourself for such a feat like that? You just got to become one with the machine, pretty much, right?
Well, yeah, and a lot of people say, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that you have to really not allow yourself an out. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this no matter what. Mm-hmm. Now, I have probably tried marathoning, 20, 24 different times, something like that. I've successfully gone over 40 hours 12 times. Nice. I've only gone over 50 once, okay? But I've gone over 30 well, let's say I've gone over 20, you know, probably another 6 or 7 times as well. So I just tell myself I've got to do it. I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. And I play music that I want to hear inside my headphones. And sometimes people will come by and they have permission to pinch me, beat me, whatever they need to do to keep me awake. But I do not do caffeine because it might get you up, but you come down pretty soon.
You crash harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't do caffeine. So that's how I prepare myself. I tell myself I'm going to do it. I'm got to do it. You know.
Nice.
Usually it involves time off and some sort of expense to do it, and so you just don't set yourself up like that and then incur a loss if you can help it.
Very nice.
Well, it's starting to get kind of late here. I know it's even later for you. So I guess we need to start kind of wrapping this up.
Okay.
I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. If there is one lesson or moral that you could take away from the arcade, what would that be?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if I can put it in a phrase, but I can tell you that it's taught me to be more accepting of different people. It's taught me to try harder when I didn't think I could anymore. It's taught me that people can get around and have fun without, spending a lot of money or getting high. And the arcade community has brought me probably 99% of the friends I have today. So it's been a good experience for me. I'm blessed to have been able to be in video gaming, period. So the moral of the story is that they're good people here, and it's taught me some good traits that carry me through life.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final questions?
I'm looking over here. I mean, it's a basic one, but if you could say anything to anybody that's coming up and wanting to be a competitor in the classic games, what would the main thing you would tell them be?
Don't be negative. Be persistent. Enjoy find something you enjoy, and if you really want to compete, it doesn't necessarily have to be for a world record. You can win a tournament. Mm-hmm. You can just enjoy the game. You could just be the somebody who keeps up with one of your friends. Think about what you're doing. Have fun with it, and don't let negativity set in. There are some people who let negativity set in, and all they do is whine when they don't get a score. Oh, that just annoys me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? And you didn't get the score because you hadn't gotten good enough yet. That's probably bad.
That's one of the biggest lessons I've been trying to convey to my stepson and my daughter is don't make excuses. Learn to accept when you've lost and try to learn from that loss, because you never get better if you don't.
Learning from a loss will help you win later on.
That's right. I do have a phrase that probably kind of applies to this that is very soon going to be on a T-shirt, by the way. Practice to your weakness so you can play to your strength.
That's what you signed on my copy of Berserk.
That's right.
So good.
So
that's the truth, though. I mean, you don't know what your weaknesses are until you suffer that first loss.
That's right.
Yeah, I've learned far more from my losses in life than from my gains.
Oh yeah,
that's
most
true.
Definitely.
That's probably a life lesson for all of us. Exactly. So,
Joel, we're so thankful you took the time out of your schedule to sit down with us.
Not a problem. I enjoyed it.
We're very appreciative. We'd probably like to have you. I mean, we'd definitely like to have you back on again later on if you'd be up for it. Maybe do a catch up.
Yeah.
See how things are
Okay, well, you name it, we'll do it. We seem to have a matter of logistics, or I did, but now that we are here, it's really fun and definitely want to do it again.
Yeah. Is there any chance you're going to be at the next Southern Fried Game Room Expo?
Oh, I'm sure I will be, yes. I enjoyed that tremendously.
Then I'm pretty sure we're going to see you there.
Yeah, I've already been looking at booking us a hotel room ahead of time, like, just in case.
Well, the thing in Houston is coming up, and if the weekend works correctly, there's an event in Jacksonville the first weekend in June. But I'm trying to think of. I wish there was something other than just Atlanta, but I don't really know of anything, and I wish there was.
Well, maybe if Good Old Game Fest ends up being a bigger deal next year, maybe we can get you down here with us for a weekend.
Hey, that sounds great. You let me know.
That'd be cool.
And I thoroughly enjoyed this, fellas. Probably one of the most enjoyable interviews I've ever had.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. You're definitely one of our favorite interviewees. Is that a word?
Yeah,
it is. It is now.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, we'll be throwing this up on Friday.
Yeah,
so
I'll send you a link when we get it up. So
won't be any editing magic going on. I just enhance the vocals, throw an intro and outro on, and that's it.
Brandon won't chop anything we say into some.
Remember to put that picture of the model up for me, okay?
Okay.
We'll do that. I'll make a note. We'll definitely make sure it happens.
Yeah, I'll be in New Jersey. I'll be getting to New Jersey Friday night, and I say New York, but New Jersey, New York, it's the same.
Yeah, same difference.
Yeah.
One big old traffic mess. Doesn't matter what side of the river you're on,
Right.
So, thank y'all guys very much.
All right, thank you, Joel, and be safe in your journeys, man.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Please don't go. The drones need you. They look up to you.